What is up, YouTube? We're doing another video for EthanBomb. Lazy-eyed EthanBomb speaks again. This is another installment, I guess. Right? Another chapter, another day, another dollar. Right? Right, Ethan? All right, here we are on TikTok. Make sure on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed. EthanBomb 8. Yeah. So let's see what he talks about today. It's Rory goes to Niagara Falls, and OD tries to tell a story, but the gang has, what is it, failed? I don't know. The gang has a few questions in a debate. So let's see how this debate goes. Pretty sure it's going to be a fail, but let's see how it goes.
You know, I think there's a lot of people who want to be hype men in sports. It's true. It's true. You have that, and it's not only in boxing. It's not only
Saul hype men?
It's true. You don't have hype men all over the place. You have it in every sport.
Oh, let me turn on the captions here, so we can understand what everybody's saying.
You know, when I was living in Buffalo, I was doing a medical residency in cardiothoracic surgery, and it was, you know, you don't get a lot of sleep. You don't. It's long hours. And one weekend, me and a few of the guys from the residency program decided to take a break. So we thought
this guy definitely loves to tell stories. That's his thing, right? Tell stories, blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. Right? That's how it goes. Sorry guys, I'm just getting some more some milk, and I'm gonna have some salsa. Salsa? Not tortillas. Are they tortillas? All right, here we go.
It'd be fun to go swimming in the bay near Niagara Falls there. And what we did was and I don't know if any of you have ever swam near Niagara Falls, please type 1 in the comments now. But the fact
swam in the Niagara Falls. What's he gonna say? What's Ethan gonna say? He's got his finger up.
The matter is, we entered
one. Oh, you said type. Oh, okay. Sorry.
We had entered.
Shout one.
We had entered from the U.S. side, of course.
One. Oh,
and
no. Type it. Okay, hold on.
It was supposed to be a short swim, nothing crazy. But somewhere in the water, I had gotten disoriented. I have always had a history of vertigo, and sure enough, it kicked in that day. And
a good movie, by the way.
Yeah, it was.
Everything started spinning. I couldn't tell which direction was which, and the sound of the falls made it worse. And I just swam, and I tried to get out of the water, thinking I was heading back to where I started. But finally, when I pulled myself out of the water, I started looking around, and I didn't see the rest of the guys. And then I heard my buddy Benji yelling from across the falls. He said, "Rory, you're on the wrong side." That's when it hit.
He said, "Them puppies go near them rabbits, I'll break your goddamn necks."
That's not funny. That's when it hit me. I just crossed over I had crossed over to the Canadian side without even knowing, and I thought, no big deal. I'll just
I like the puppies,
back.
George.
But before I could move, before I could get back in the water and swim over, this huge hand grabbed my shoulder, and it was this woman. It was this woman.
Was it Andre the Giant?
It wasn't, but she had hands like Andre the Giant. I'll tell you. She said to me,
"She had an Adam's apple the size of her balls."
I was confused. Then he asked me for my passport. And Ethan, I didn't have my passport on.
Did you have your pants on?
Who brings their passport swimming?
Under my back to my bunghole.
The interesting thing is, the next thing I know, I was surrounded by a bunch of Canadian border guards. And they put
everybody.
It was like a Canadian paddy wagon, so to speak, and it was the
another thing, the crotch down where your nuts hang.
We just call it a paddy wagon.
It's always a little too tight.
And yes, it was the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RC.
Royal Canadian Mounted Paddy Wagons.
And they fingerprint you, and they took me to Toronto, and they booked me.
They fingered you?
They fingered me, and they took me to Toronto, and they booked me on a charge. The charge they booked me on, and do you gentlemen know what
They fingered him. Let's rewind that.
And yes, it was the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP.
Royal Canadian Mounted Paddy Wagons.
And they fingerprint you, and they took me to Toronto, and they booked
They
me.
fingered you?
They fingered me, and they took me to Toronto, and they booked me on a charge. The charge they booked me on. Do you gentlemen know what they charged me with?
Unusual.
It was rectal retention?
It wasn't, but it was close. It was domestic espionage, and it sounded like
Domestic? Were you from another country, though?
This was it's funny. People often say, were there aliens out there? The aliens landed on the moon. Think about that one. But look, that's not. They put me in jail, in a jail cell, and I sat there day after day. The food in Canada jails, terrible. And the guards.
Lots of poutine.
You don't like lobster?
Poutine and lobster rolls?
Guards speaking
Ethan,
French.
wasn't it Jimmy Stewart that was in Vertigo?
But
It was.
But there was.
Tim Novak?
Yeah, that's who it was, too.
Tight.
Then there was. I was sitting in the jail cell, and I was helping time pass, and then something came from my heart. I heard the song Layla. Layla was playing, and I looked up.
So you were in jail and you were on your knees.
Yes, I see what you did there.
While he was getting
I
fingered.
see what you did there. And I didn't realize, it was humming, and I heard one of the guards came up to me and said, that's kind of a catchy tune, isn't it? And
I think you can make a good argument that fingering is an unusual punishment. Not cruel,
True.
but unusual.
the guard was a man by the name of Eric Clapton.
Do it, everybody.
Eric Clapton.
Some dude named Eric with the clap.
He said, I wrote that song. And I said, you were in...
Ethan, you tried to be funny so bad. It's ridiculous. He hears the word Eric Clapton and goes, Eric with the clap.
By the
Was that
name
funny?
of Eric Clapton.
That's supposed to be funny.
Everybody.
Eric Clapton.
Some dude named Eric with the clap.
He said,
with the clap.
I wrote
Yeah.
that song. And I said, you were in...
You wrote the clap?
I said, I
That's one
know...
of my
Clap
favorite.
on,
I
clamp
know
off.
the group that
the
wrote
clap.
that is Derek and the Dominoes. And he said, who do you think Derek was in that?
He played dominoes in prison against Derek.
I said, and we laughed about it for a
Clap
while.
off, Daniel.
And I said, you wrote that song, and now you're a prison guard for the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And he said to me,
Paddy wagon.
and he said, and you know what? A few
Got
months
Paddy
later,
wagon.
I had been in that jail cell for about
Give
6
this
Give your
guy
dog a boner.
laying on my cot when I heard when I heard a song. I heard
Laying
it
on your
again,
cock?
Derek and the Dominoes. And
Did he say laying on his cock?
after I heard the song on the radio, I sat there on my cot, and I remember
Set on your cock?
it's not true. I didn't do that. And what I did was,
I heard Mr. Belver sat on his nuts in a read-through one time.
what you didn't know is that I had people would stop me when I finally got out of that prison. People would stop me on the street. And
Right Plight is in the comments. If he's not making a video of this, then I'm done with him. I'm unfriending him.
Oh, there's a video on my YouTube from Sweet Pea from yesterday.
it's funny because I had when I finally got back home, my grandmother, who we called Nana. Now she was a big girl. She had grown up in Tuscaloosa.
Can you take out? Are you wearing a headset?
I am not, but I'm going to tell you what she was wearing. She would sit on the back porch of her house with one of those big summer dresses. You know what I'm talking about. And she used to put the wet clothes up on the
This
clothes.
story got a lot more creepy.
And I remember her saying,
But
this
it got
was
a grandma
long
in
time
it.
ago, and she said
makes
to
it
me,
comforting.
Rory, we were sitting there, and this is the true part of the story
If he
here.
fingers her,
You're
I'm
going to
out.
like the ending of this. She said to me,
You kidding me? I'm
you know
gonna
what
dig in
she said to
further.
me, Ethan? She said, I wish there was a machine that could wash and dry clothes. That would make life so much easier. That's when I said to Nana, I said, Nana, they invented the washer and dryer years ago. You and Pappy are just too damn cheap to
How
buy
do you give
one.
him an Alfred Hitchcock
And
movie to do
just
it?
then, I could hear Pappy come out of the barn, and he started chasing me around the backyard. And I remember my sister, Dee Dee, crying, yelling, Pappy, please, leave
Do it,
Rory alone.
everybody.
And Nana was screaming, leave the young man.
Nana Crass?
And what happened next
Mama
was
Cass?
Pappy was growing
Did Nana get
frustrated
fingered?
that he couldn't catch me, and his irritation. You know,
Yeah, that was 3.
Thank you.
All right, well, I guess that was it, eh? Like and subscribe to EthanBomb. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace out. Have a great night. Make sure you leave a comment below. You know the job. Peace out.